Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Sylvia and I make videos on bookish and writerly things. Reading has always allowed me to escape into someone else's world. Writing allows me to disappear into my own world, and at the same time, both allow me to find myself. Join me as I experiment on how to best tackle projects, figure out how to stick with habit tracking, and celebrate the wins, both big and small. So grab a cup or a glass of whatevs and let's get on with the video. Reading and writerly friends. Okay, here is my 2025 planner and journaling stack. Let's get into it. Technically, the top two are for my fitness and everyday carry, which has nothing to do with reading or writing, so we're going to take those out. And that leaves us with these. I know. So what am I trying to accomplish in 2025? All right, so technically for reading, I have these two guys. Sorry about the glare. It is a dungeon in here and I have my ring light on. So I have this book called Toxic Prey, and this is for my mystery book club at my library, and Wool is going to be our science fiction book for 2024, and this is also at 2025. I'm sorry, I'm not used to saying that. It's 2025. So and this is for our sci-fi book club at the library as well. I love both of my groups. We have interesting and fun conversations. I enjoy all the people in my groups, which I mean is rare, and I can't believe that they're both at my library. I'm incredibly lucky. And so in order to get to both of them, because some months I'm pretty lazy about reading, I only get to one or the other. I want to get to both. And that is my goal for 2025, to go to both, to finish both of these books in the month. For most people out there, you're like, Sylvia, it's 2 books. It's not that serious. But as somebody who wants to read her own books, I read a book usually with my niece, and I also write a lot. That is a ton of writing and reading, you guys, and I just don't always find time for both of them, which means I need to get back to basics. So let's get started. Honestly, when I am thinking about reading, and here is my reading journal and planner for 2025. I have talked about this on my planning channel, which I will link down below, but I ended up getting this. It's a Moleskine notebook and planner, and this planner is for 2024 through 2025. It's an academic calendar, so it started in July of 2024. It gives you some months before the new year, but I get all of 2025. I got it for $9.99. You can't ask for a better price than that, and I'm going to make it work. So it has a monthly layout that looks somewhat like the Hobonichi, except for the weekend is put together all in one row. I don't really like that, so you can white this out and go ahead and move it up here and give it its own row, or down off to the side here, and that has worked for me in the past. The monthlies look like this. They're not really great. Technically, you just have 1 month to a page, but this is really nice if you want to see how much you've read in a monthly glance. So you can go ahead, this is an erasable pen, and let's say here for July, I ended up reading 25 pages, and then I read 16 pages over here, and then I read 9 pages here. I can see what I've been reading for the full-on month all at one glance, so that works really well. I can also put down here like a line and then write down what book I read and when I started and when I finished it, so I can see that at a glance as well. For the weekly, I divide this in half. It already has these little notches down here, so you can connect them all the way down, and you can see where Saturday and Sunday split. That's where the half page goes. On the left-hand side, I tend to put what I'm physically reading, and then on the right-hand side, it's any audiobook I'm listening to. So minutes or hours go over here. I usually circle them. So if I ended up reading 29 pages here, I'll circle it. And if I listened to an hour in, let's say 12 minutes, I put that there and I'll circle it so I can just see it all in my week. It also helps me see what days I'm missing. So if I'm missing Wednesdays all of the time, I might not pressure myself to read because maybe that's a very busy writing day, or I have a lot of meetings with people on that day, so it just doesn't work for me and I should stop pressuring myself to try to fit it in. On the back here, I have connected by just a little clip a Moleskine notebook. So you can get these in packs of 3 on Amazon. They come in a lot of different colors with different layouts. Right now this one is a square grid. It's somewhat cream colored, so are the pages in here. And these are actually a collage that are They have their own adhesive and you can get them on Amazon. I really like them because they look really nice and I don't have to do a lot of work, and because I like for things to look kind of beautiful. So I have this just to write notes for what I'm reading, and because they come in packs of 3, I can just, you know, refill them whenever I need. So I can go down here at some point. I probably will put a sticker that says volume 1 of January 2025, and that's how I will archive these. So when we're in here, the best way to do this is sometimes, okay, I'm reading a physical book and an audiobook. Sometimes I'm reading 2 physical books at the same time because I'm reading one with my niece, and so I'll put that information down here. Well, off to the side here, even though there are lined pages, there's only 1 per week. This doesn't have a lot of extra pages. I think it might have 12, something like that, in the very, very back. It's just not a lot. I have it marked here with washi tape, so that's one way to mark it without having an extra ribbon, because this one only actually comes with 1. And the best way to take notes is, like, you can come up here and use a signifier, so you can put P for physical book and then A for audiobook. And I'm usually put a J if I'm reading with my niece Jade. So that's how I use this and how I kind of divide the pages up. Now, if I'm reading 2 physical books and an audiobook, one of them is probably going to have more notes than the other. Sometimes I like to write down if I'm reading a very dense book, I like to write down words that I don't know or terms that I think I should know more about. So I run out of space, and then there's quotes or just characters that I want to write down. This is not enough, especially if I am going through 2 physical books and an audiobook in a week. Sometimes because I'm a lazy reader or slow reader, depending on what you want to call it, I can take about 3 weeks to read a book. And because the book club gives it to us in enough time, we have almost a month to read each of the books, which is fabulous. But still, you're going to run out of space. So the way that I connect this notebook to this one, and I think I've already marked in here, let me close this so I don't lose my page. Right here, I have number 29 down here for the page. So I can write down notes for number 29, and I can write it down here. It happens to be the same as this, but let's say that I wrote notes down for this book. I'm going to put a square, because anything that's in here is going to be in a square. Anything that I'm just like trying to highlight, you can use a highlighter, but I tend to use signifiers because I don't like to carry a lot of highlighters and pens with me. So a square with a number inside lets me know that the notes for this day are on page 29 in this notebook. And then of course I can put a 1 next to it so that it could be volume 1. That way I know that the next time I take this out because it's filled up and I need to replace it, I can note down here that that's volume 2 and I can put a 2. And it's a simple way to go ahead and add pages if you get a planner that doesn't have extra pages in the back. Now, one that does is the Hobonichi Weeks. The mega one has more than 200 pages in the back, but as much as I wanted to use this as a reading notebook and planner, it just did not want to be that. I tried and it was like, nope, I want to be a fitness planner. So that's what it is for 2025 for me. But if you're looking for something that has a planner and pages in the back, I highly recommend the Hobonichi Weeks. It has monthly in case you've never seen it like this. And then it has the weekly layout, which is the same as the one that's in the Moleskine. And it has memo on the side, and the back pages are grid, and they have numbers already down at the bottom for you. This would have been a fabulous little notebook to keep all of my reading in, but it did not want to be that, and that is okay. So this is what I ended up doing. I just take the back page here, which has a gusseted pocket, and the back page here, which is also gusseted. I line them up, and I just put a clip, and they stay connected just like that. If you don't like the clip, you don't have to have it. This little closure will hold them both together if you want to do that, but it's pretty simple. I like it. I also like the clip because I can put a pen on here if I wanted to. I just pull it up to the top a little bit more. I'm going to move this over so it has plenty of space. Then I just clip my pen on like that, and I can carry it wherever I go. For the most part, it really doesn't go on the go with me. It's just sitting either at my desk or at my bedside, but I really like the way it works. Also, you can use the closure like this and put a pen that way as well. I don't tend to do that just because I have my little tabs off to the side here, which are by Midori, and I got them from Jet Pens, in case you're interested. They just have the numbers on them for the months. I know you can't probably see them very well, but maybe I'll add in a picture so that you can. They work really, really well. My niece doesn't like them, so she actually keeps her pen off to the side here, using it like this. And that works just fine too. And so this is an easy and simple way that I am going to be recording all of my reading for the year. Now, somewhere towards the middle of January, I ended up going to my eye doctor because I turned 40 around the time of COVID, and a lot of people know that doctors will tend to tell you around 40 your eyesight just drops and you'll probably need a new prescription. And my eye doctor told me that we should only read for about 20 minutes and then look off into the distance and stare off to the distance about 20 to 30 seconds and then start reading again, because it really helps with your eyes focusing and for them to not get tired or strained. Because my partner has to wear glasses not because he has bad eyesight, because his eyes get really strained very easily, and that's what she told us to do. So I've been trying to practice that as well. And so I was doing 20-minute reading sprints where I timed myself in like a book. So like say I'm reading this book for the first time, I will read it for 20 minutes, time myself, and then write down the amount of pages that I read in 20 minutes. And that's usually a good starting off point for how much I can read in every 20-minute session. I tend to try to read for at least an hour or two a night. Nighttime works best for me. I was reading in the morning because my nights were getting later and later, and then I was falling asleep while I was reading. So let me know down below. Are you a nighttime reader or a morning reader midday? I can't seem to find the time in the middle of the day. I just get really busy, but I did really like doing the 20-minute sprints. Now I'm actually doing chapters because when I was doing like an hour, my brain would be like, oh, an hour is over, you don't have to read anymore. So I try to say, okay, I'm going to read chapter 5, depending on how long these chapters are. And I'll go to maybe chapter 10 if I can. Chapter 10 doesn't seem to be that serious. So here is 5 chapters right there, and I'll say, I'm going to do chapters. And I don't really time myself. I just read for 5 chapters every 20 minutes or so. I tend to look up into the distance for a while and then go back to reading, and I find that my eyes aren't strained or I don't feel as tired if I do that, and it works out best for me. What are some of your reading strategies? As I am trying to learn how to read more and be more consistent with reading, and I feel like writing down what I've read really helps me not only remember what I've read later on, because people always ask me about a book and I'm like, oh, I've read that, and I can't remember all of the things, just sort of more of how that book made me feel or if I liked it or not. So having a little bit of notes is really helpful. I tried to do this in a Google Doc, and that didn't work. I just couldn't keep up with it. I never opened it. So I feel like if I write it down and then at the end of the month I just type up something, that would be helpful, because then I can have access to it on the internet as long as I have my phone. So this is what I'm trying out. I hope that it's going to work for me. How do you guys keep track of your reading? I've also done things where I have taken like a piece of paper. I don't have a long one with me right now, but let's say it's like this, and I'll do like, when I do reading sprints, I'll do like number 1, number 2, 3, and 4. And I will just kind of like write down what page I started on. So maybe I start on page 1 here because it's my first sprint. I'll read for 20 minutes or an hour, and then underneath it I'll write down like how many pages I got to. Let's say that it's like 25, and then I'll just write that all down so I can see how much each sprint was. It's sort of like a game with me. If I keep it in a piece of paper instead of this, I can just keep it as my bookmark, and every time I open it's right there, and I can just write it down and then just move on. That's another way you can record it without having to have a full-on planner and a notebook. But I find that more of the books I'm reading are books that I really want to read and really like, and I want to record some of the quotes and really good lines that are in there, especially since I can't afford to buy all of the books that I want. I would love to buy all of the books, but I can't. So I tend to get them from the library, especially if they are a book club book. So I can't highlight and annotate these books, and it's just trying to find a system where I can write down some things that I really enjoyed is what I'm trying to do for 2025. And that is everything I have to say about books for right now. The next thing is my notes. So this is a planner. This is a traveler's notebook. I feel like most people already know that, but just in case you don't, you can go to my planning channel and I talk a lot about them there. This holds inserts, and the first insert I have in here is by Traveler's Company. And this is the monthly insert that I ended up covering with the beautiful material that I found. So in here, I am keeping track of TV shows, like what I'm watching, movies, when TV shows are coming back, because I'm watching so many different ones, I forget about them. I'm also have a notebook in here, which is the 005 free diary insert. So this has 2 months in it. I've already written in the beginning of the first month, so I won't share that. But at the beginning of the month, it has an index like this. And then it has a page per day. So there's 31 pages in here, so no matter what month you're in, there's enough pages for it. I don't tend to use it that way. I'm using this more like a bullet journal, where I'm writing down, like right now, I mentioned in my other video, I'm watching Castle for the first time. There's 8 seasons. I write down Castle here, and then if there's any funny little quotes, which there are some, I write them down here, or any episodes I really liked, or any ideas that I have pulled from watching those episodes, because it's all about, obviously, cases and murder, and I am a mystery writer. I'll write down, I had an idea which, derived from this, but I'd rather do this or this instead. And I write it down in here, and that's been working out really well for me. Most people just have a commonplace notebook to do that in, and you can certainly do that, but it wasn't working for me, and I wasn't writing in it, and I don't have like a planner that I can use to refer to. So again, like I was doing in my other planner / notebook for reading, on October 8th, if I am watching a TV series, I can go ahead and I can always put volumes on here, like volume 1 when I archive it, and I can put volume 1, page 4, and then I know that the notes for this day are on page 4 in my volume 1 notebook. So that works really well for me. I like doing it that way because it combines a planner with a notebook. I also, if I am learning a language in 2025, which I am, I can go ahead and keep a notebook in here for that specifically, and write down on what days I actually worked on my language. So when I'm like, how come I haven't learned Spanish fluently, Sylvia? It's probably because you missed 3 weeks in July. So that's really important for me to know. And so this is a way that I use planners where I'm not really necessarily planning, I'm more recording. And I did put some sticky notes in here where I mentioned a lot of time I will write down what my plan is for, let's say, a language. Like I want to learn and sit down on Tuesdays and Thursdays because I have some time there twice a week to do an hour or 2 hours of that language. And that's instead of doing, 20 minutes a day. Maybe learning a language 20 minutes a day is easier because it's always refreshed in your brain instead of only on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but people have the time that they have. So I write the plan on the sticky note or even down here below, and then I just record what actually happens in that month, what I actually do. And that's the way I kind of do some planning, but mostly recording in here. Now we're on to my writing planner. So this is a traveler's notebook as well. This is a Midori. It holds a little bit more than the Traveler's Company version does. So I have 3 notebooks in here. The first one is my 2025 planner, and I just divide this in half. It already has little notches here to allow you to do that. On the left-hand side, I write down my starting word count and my ending word count. I also write down whether I'm drafting or revising or editing, because depending on what type of writer you are in your system, all of those can mean different things. Off here on the right, I write anything else, like what chapter I'm working on or what project I'm working on. And if I, deleted any words and that's why the word count went down, anything like that. Over here off to the side, I write down any problems I found, like let's say I'm writing in chapter 1 through 10, and I find out that I started a character in there, but the character goes away for like 20 chapters. And I'm like, Sylvia, you need to weave that character in a little bit more. If I find an inconsistency, or I say that a character is wearing something in one chapter, in the next chapter it's still the same day and they're wearing a different outfit, you can write that down as well. And I usually at the end here write down what I want to do for the next week. So I already have a plan when I go to sit down starting that next Monday. So when this week starts, I do the same, and then I usually refer to here and I'm like, okay, my plan was to do this. I really wanted to do this, and I still have to correct some of these pages because sometimes as writers, we will go ahead and we will draft, and some people will have plans either at the end of the day or at the end of the week to make sure that they go back through and just kind of do some editing of what they wrote for that week, just so it's not so overwhelming, and it also reminds them and refreshes them what to do for the next week. So that's what I do in my planner. So in this notebook, I had started but never finished. I just do some writing, and I do the same thing I've done in my other planners. I will write down a page number here. So if I need to work out a problem, let's say on March 17th, I need to work out a problem, and it would just help me to just write it down instead of typing. Sometimes we just need a pen and a piece of paper. I will go ahead and I'll do that in here, and I'll write down like page 14, and then I'll write down 14 here with a square, and I know that the notes for this day are on that page. This one is a little bit more loosey-goosey. This is Tomoe River paper, which is Bible-y thin and beautiful. It holds twice the amount of pages as a standard traveler's notebook does. So this one is 64 pages, and this is double that. In here, this is for my short fiction, because sometimes you get characters or stories that don't leave you alone, and you're really committed to working on a project for a month or a quarter. But you want to give them some time because it's fun, and why not? And you don't want them to go completely away. So I will sit down at the end of the day or the end of the week, and I will allow myself to work on that on the page, because again, for me, sometimes free writing is just really helpful to get into a new story or a new character. I will write that down. There's plenty of space to do that for a while in here, hopefully. And if it's too bulky, because sometimes people don't want to write on a hump, and this one's kind of a hump there. Let me see if I can kind of show you. It's not too much, but it kind of is. I just have this tucked into the back pocket, which is why I love this. And I can just write down on a flat surface and do my thing and slide it back in, and I don't have to take apart my whole traveler's notebook, which is sometimes the case when you're only working with one string, but this one has several, so that's really, really nice. And this is something I don't have to work in every day. I'm hoping that I'm working on writing at least 4 to 5 days a week. Sometimes I tend to take the weekend off because my partner or my niece are home with me, and it's just harder, and I want to give them the time that they deserve, and we like to watch TV series and read together. So we're busy, and so I don't have 7 days a week to always write, but whenever I do, this notebook is ready for me sitting at my desk whenever I need it. And so that is my planner stack for 2025 and what I plan on doing and working on. Hopefully at the end of January or the beginning of February, I can do a couple of book talks from 5 to 10 minutes, nothing crazy, just to get me back into the groove, because I used to do a lot of book talks here. I don't think I called them book talks then, but I'd have friends on and we'd discuss books, and it was so much fun. And I like doing book reviews, and I noticed that people like a longer book review and some like a shorter book review, and some like the combination of a short, quick, spoiler-free review, and then at the end tacking on for those people who want more of a review at the end. So it might be a combination of that. I haven't decided. So I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do them right now, but be looking for those at the end of January, beginning of February, because I said I was going to do it. So I will be doing one for Toxic Prey and one for Wool, and who knows if I get another book or audiobook into January with all of my writing deadlines, then I will do that. So let me know what you're reading down below, and if you have any reading tips or writing tips for 2025. What are you working on? What projects? Are you trying to incorporate some short fiction? If you've been writing novels, I am trying to do that just because I've really missed it, and I really miss the satisfaction of having a smaller project done and all of the endorphins you get from finishing a project. When you're writing novels, it's such a long process. I do love it, but I do miss my short fiction. So there's that. All right. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope this was helpful. And don't forget to read a book, write a book. Sincerely, Sylvia. Bye.